Hello, Deepa. Welcome you in my podcast. I'm very delighted to run the interview with you and talk about high performance people and how they are not alone in their games, and to understand how the patterns could drive us to reach the level of success and harmony. Welcome.
Thank you so much for inviting me and having me here and this delightful conversation so early in the morning.
Yes, absolutely. It's early in the morning. So before we will jump to our interview, let me introduce our audience who you are. Also, Deepa Natarajan. She's a scaling execution. She's coaching highly driven people and professionals to reach the level of success and the harmony. She's also international speaker. She's having broad experience in terms of variety of the subject, but today we are going to tap definitely on the harmony and a success for high performance. And I also noticed that we have similar experience because we used to work in HP as well. So this is another thing which I find out about you, Deepa.
I know the transition from an IT world, thinking about software development and moving into what is our own internal operating system in our brain was quite a shift actually.
Yes, absolutely. I know you are very structured women. So my first question is, what is happening when in our approach reaching the goals, we are feeling drained? What are the things which we might do to get back and still having the ease and flow?
Such a beautiful question. How can we have ease and flow? And the number one question is, do we believe that it is possible to have ease and flow and still have success? There is this notion that success comes with hard work. Success comes through driving with persistence and being and pushing and putting 100%, if not 200% of ourselves out there. And this thing of ease and flow is like, oh, if I lay back and ease down, will I not reach my goals? And that little assumption actually is the number one limiting factor, which limits high performers to, open up to this idea of, can I achieve the success that I desire with peace of mind, with ease of being, and can I do all of that in harmony? And the minute we put the seed for that desire, then you can work on the path to get there.
Yeah. And you know what? Very often we might think, this is what happened to me as well. We might think, of course, if I go for a holidays, if I will have a break, then this is a perfect moment when I can recuperate, when I can rest. Is it also the thing which you see it? I mean, with your clients working with the high performance people?
I think, let me put the story back to myself. I remember when I was a child, I was told with all good intentions of my parents that work hard. If you want to get out of this middle class life, you've got to work hard, you've got to become an engineer, you've got to make then you can make a good living, and then you can buy a car, because my dad had a scooter at that time, and for a very long time, in fact, we had a scooter and I was sitting in the middle of the scooter between my parents. And so this notion of hard work was so ingrained in the upbringing, and I'm so thankful for that, because that's a gift. And so you keep going, and then you realize that hard work actually brings you success. And so many things change so very quickly that we get conditioned by society. We get conditioned as we grow from a lot of external factors. And then what happens is that we keep going and going and going in that direction, thinking, if I do more of that, then I'll get more of the success. So if a runner keeps running, he's going to start running faster. But if he doesn't rest, he or she is not going to run any faster. And in running, we can make that out. We can say that our body is fatigued and we need rest. But in high performance, what happens is we get stuck, we feel stagnated, our relationships start to fail, and we don't see that immediate indicator that tells us that, hey, the body needs rest. Hey, we need to slow down. And so we put down all the slow down and rest to vacations, to retirement. and then the thing is, like, in our last 2 weeks back, I was working with some people, literally they were like in tears because they're suffering, in tears. And I'll ask them, how many hours do you work? And this guy said, I don't know. And I said, okay, tell me what time you get to work. And he said, 8 o'clock. I finish at 7:30. I have dinner with my family. And at 9 o'clock, I start again. And I finish somewhere close to midnight. And Saturdays I don't work, but Sundays I do work for half a day. And so we actually calculated it's very close to more than 60 hours, between 60 to 80 hours of work per week. Now, what's the impact of that? Yes, the success gets you great vacations to, travel to the most exotic locations. And at the same time, you've lost that, the joy comes in just the small little things. When you walk in a park and, people talk about bird watching, but it's not bird watching. Like, never end up seeing the birds, but it's more bird listening, right? And you end up listening to the sounds of the birds, and that brings so much inner peace. And that shifts our attention from the problem or the opportunities that we're trying to get to, focus our attention on completely something else that could actually give us ideas and get us into this place of a different perspective that helps us to solve the problems at hand or the opportunities that we're trying to grab, rather than in this tunnel vision of go, go, go in that same path. And so that also gives us this little joy of every day. So it's really like, can I stop for a few microseconds every single day? Can I stop for a few minutes that can bring me not only joy, but also get me into this state, for when I have a shower, that's when I have the best ideas. And sometimes my husband tells me, go take a shower. I'm like, yeah, go take a shower. Because we're trying to sit and solve something, and then you get into a completely another zone, completely outside. And so for me, that's what I say about, like, can we have that ease of being by getting our brains out of that tunnel vision on a daily basis and experience not only joy, but also experience this path of reaching our destination with more ease.
Yeah, beautifully said. Deepa, I fully resonate what you mentioned about this work hard, then you will get there. And this is what you mentioned, also society is creating that. But can we a little bit go back into this description or the themes which high performance people are having, like you mentioned, work hard, perceive to your goals, be persistent. So what these skills which are giving us opportunity to reach our goals, how they are playing the role in this whole ecosystem, like you mentioned, in the East, because it's very easy, like you mentioned. I sometimes I'm having that hamster wheel when I'm working, like constantly working because you want to finish that project, you want to deliver. But how to get the breakout of such a patterns, which are super great skills for high performance, but we know coins is always having two sides. How that one is playing a role? Can you elaborate more on that?
Yeah, sure. Give me a second, let me think about that. Okay, so the number one thing is, like, can I identify what are those traits? So there are 5 typical traits that I saw in my research that most highly driven people, most high performers have. Number 1, no-brainer. Everybody would say, yes, I know I have it. And I know I have it too. Very action biased, right? Very action oriented. because action takes us to results. It moves us forward. It gives us this, and as soon as we achieve, it gives us a little dopamine rush, and it gets us hooked on to like more action and more, because like it makes us feel good. And then highly also self-sufficient people. Somehow when I analyzed and looked at the research and the data, most highly driven people are very self-sufficient. That is, strong, independent. I can do it on my own. I'm very autonomous nature, which is great, because most leaders, most managers want to work with such people who are autonomous, who can go, solve problems, get things done on their own without asking 10 million questions. And very future focused, which means that they're able to connect the dots very quickly, and they have a vision. Where do we go? What needs to happen? And which also creates the gap between what's happening in the present and where do we need to go. It creates this link. So when we're so future focused, our attention is on what should be rather than what is. And what is present in terms of emotions and what's happening around with people and within you. And that's like the dislink that happens. And most highly driven people are also perfectionists. This is what I've noticed. And because they do things so well, right, they get called in. And even though we say, let's have a culture of fail fast, how often and how forgiving are we of people who make mistakes? And therefore, people who are perfectionists obviously get promoted. So, let's say you have two candidates in an organization, and one of them says that, hey, is overestimating what results can be achieved, is setting themselves up for high expectations, while the other one is being realistic. Which one's going to get promoted? Obviously, the one who's setting themselves up for high expectations, who's overestimating what can be reached. And so that's how most highly driven people and high performers get promoted more and more. And so the more I start coaching senior leaders, I see that there is more of this high performance, and at the same time, because the opposite traits like collective responsibility, which is completely the polar opposite of self-sufficiency and strong independent self, and collective responsibility is, how do we do this together? How are we responsible for what's happening in our system? And the presence and stillness, all these things become diminished as one is heading more for action and being more future focused.
Yeah, I can also recognize these elements in my behaviors as well. So it's like you mentioned, it's not a secret. I will also raise my hand. But Deepa, then the next question would be, how we are, or people who are listening to us as a high performance, how to start, like you mentioned, ease. It's easy to say, get to the ease, to the calmness. How to get there, how to start. And you know what, it's not easy to break such a pattern, it's really kind of tough. But maybe from the micro steps, how to do that, and what will be the mastery of that which you are teaching? Or is it a way or time when we get that level, or is it how to get there? And I know you also develop your model, which in the next question I would like to develop and find out more. So first of all, how to get there, breaking the patterns, start moving micro steps towards this ease, this flow, collaboration piece with the people, not be alone in the game, because I know it's very common, high performance people, they're also alone in the whole game, reaching those goals. So how to not be there and move towards that ease and calmness?
Yeah, I know, it is a very lonely place. And it is sad, and it breaks my heart that it doesn't have to be that way. There's a hurt and a pain inside every high performer that pushes one to go there and be that go-getter on their own. And it doesn't have to be a lonely path. you can't find a tribe like yourself that can help you to break your patterns and get out of it. Just have to decide, how important is it for you? And more than that, I'm going to ask this more provocative question. How important is it for you to live the life and not wait X years to get there? We sacrifice ourselves to get to a certain level of success. But when is it ever enough? When is it enough? And this is exactly why, like, once we decide that, yes, I want that ease right now, like that seed of awareness is the biggest change. It's so easy to hurt ourselves. It's so easy to push ourselves beyond measure that we don't even think about is for a second how we are sacrificing our life, how we're sacrificing our time. And for me, that is the first seed of change. And then I have this whole journey. I have a 10-week program to get you there. And yeah, people who go through the program, it's funny, one person came in and said, you know, I'm struggling. And then she said, I'm struggling, I'm working way too hard. And she didn't come in because she wanted ease. She said, I want to get to the next level of my leadership position. I want to get promoted in my organization, and I want to manage a bigger team. And that's why she came into the program. And finally, when at the end of 3 weeks, there was so much change within her that her manager not just promoted her to the next level, but got her promoted to the, one above, and decided that to give her an opportunity to go and work in another country. And so she was extremely thrilled, because it's like a ripple effect. When you start to change one thing, it can start to have a lot of effects in terms of changing a whole lot of things, because we start to change paradigms. And for her, the main change was to be more assertive, right? Now you might say, okay, but is being assertive linked to getting more flow? So the thing is, for each and every person, the behavioral change that is needed to get to our next level, which could be a leadership position, or to find more ease of being and peace of mind, whatever is our next level, whatever we want, there is a behavioral change that needs to happen. Right? And we need to find out what is that behavioral change without knowing what is that behavior, because I truly believe that behind every success lies a behavioral change and a mindset shift. Because if we keep doing the things the same way, we're going to get the same old results. Yeah. You want a different result? You got to change something in you. And so one simple tip for people who are listening would be this. Ask yourself, what's your goal? What do you really want? What's that you want to reach in the next 1 year? And then I'm going to go and ask you to ask 5 people, what's the behavior I need to change in order to get to that goal? So the question would be, what's the behavior I need to change in order to get to this goal? Ask 5 people, and then you'll get a very clear insight in terms of what's that behavior that's holding you back from your next level.
Yeah, absolutely. This is very, very, how should I say? I cannot even find a word, describing that. Very simple at the same point of time, because something which we used to do, we sometimes are blind about that behavior. So like you mentioned, that perspective could give us the good hint about it. But what you mentioned is very mind-blowing and very eye-opening, kind of aha moment, is, like you mentioned, awareness. Because in my journey of the reaching the goals and climbing the ladder in the corporate was always the feeling, if I'm not going to work hard, then there was no rights or to get higher and higher. You know what I mean? But what you just described is absolutely completely opposite. It's not the way, because such a behavior is driving us towards burnout.
Absolutely. And some of my colleagues called me and tell me, hey, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm going to they're like, every time I call you, you're either going away somewhere, or you're on a holiday, or you're walking in the forest. Like, how do you manage to reach have this impact in terms of the work that you do, and also have so much time? And if I hadn't applied my techniques to myself, I wouldn't be here. So yeah, there is a path and there is a methodology to get there, because very often we say, okay, I want to get to the gym, and so you can say, okay, I'm going to sign up to the gym. I know the path to go there. Like I know how to drive to the gym, but then somehow my car doesn't go there, or my feet don't take me there 3 times a week. What's going on? I have the intentions, I have the motivation, and I have the determination. Something is beyond. So once you figure out what's your behavior that you need to change, and that's level of awareness, the awareness is first, where do I want to go? How do I want to live my life? And then the second is okay, now I know the destination. Now I know the behavior of the vehicle that's going to take me there. And at the same time, I just want to say, have compassion for yourself. Determination and motivation is not enough to reach your goals in terms of changing your behaviors. Yeah.
Yeah, what would be then another factor which you mentioned, that determination is not enough? So I'm just pulling you more and more just to give us a little bit tips, gratefulness. What about the gratefulness piece? Because this is something which me personally, I have to learn, be grateful about, even with the mistakes which are happening during the career path or during the life journey. It's all about be grateful, I think, and also an ease with ourselves, don't you think?
I have a slightly contradicting opinion on that. So Here I go.
Okay, go ahead.
You completely dislike me for this. But here's my thing. When I'm angry and upset, and then sometimes somebody asks me, what are you grateful for? I'm like, what? You want me to be grateful? I'm so angry and I'm so upset with everything that's going on. How do you expect me to be, grateful and sing and say, oh, I'm very happy that I'm alive, or I'm very happy that it's a nice sunny day, when internally I'm really frustrated and boiling. So, applying that technique when we're upset and angry is the hardest thing to do, and I don't recommend doing that. Gratefulness, and as you can see, my little workbooks, this is actually my 10-week journey. And when I take people through that 10-week journey, they go through a certain pathway, and they try to understand in their pathway, what's their personality type and what is internally driving them. What behaviors are driving them, what assumptions are present. And the thing is, like I said, I want to get to the gym, but I'm not able to go there. Why am I not able to go there? Very simple. I feel very guilty when I'm not at home in the evening, and I can't cook a nice simple meal for my kids. Yeah. So there is something else beneath which is stopping me, which is putting that pressure on that brake for me to get there. And in the same way, the woman who wants to be more assertive in the workplace, what was stopping her was oh, what if people dislike me if I speak up? What if I'm seen as someone who's not polite? And there are all these internal driving forces which are taking us away from our destination. And that internal driving force has been created through our education system, through our upbringing, through our ecosystem, which means that what's stopping us is different for each and everybody. It's not the same. We're wired differently. And the whole 10-week methodology takes people through that journey, where in the very first week, people realize what's stopping them. So in the first week, you have this little wow, I know this is what's stopping me. And then the fear, I totally believe, is locked in our body. And fear is something that can never go away. Stress is something that you can work on, whereas fear is always present with us. So how do you work with the fear that's in our body that's limiting us from making those changes? Very simple example I can give you, we all are addicted to our cell phones today, right? We pick up the cell phone immediately, say, oh, let me go and see what's happening on LinkedIn, or let me go see what's happening on my email, is there a new email? And we might tell ourselves look at the phone a little lesser. And then before our mind says, oh my God, Deepa, don't look at your phone, my hand has already reached out to the phone and it's too late. Yeah.
The body already did that movement, isn't it?
Exactly. And in the same way, our body retracts when there is a heated discussion for this girl, for this woman. Body automatically retracts when there's a heated discussion, and it's so hard to be assertive. So we need to work with the body, the mind, the soul, and the emotions. And this is why I totally believe that every change is a completely holistic process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a good example, very simple, visualizing our audience that the motivation, it's not enough. And I can in myself can find such examples when I was super motivated, but for some reasons it didn't work out. It didn't work out. But this is the beauty, this is the whole journey to get there. And it's very common, let's say, in the society of modern economy, you know, in the Western Europe economy, when we are more driven towards goal, toward KPIs, how I can beat even the fundamental problem is it's against us. The whole system, it's against us in the sense of pushing us towards this burnout, towards this let's say, lack of power to break it down. That's why we need such a tool, such a equipment and awareness, like you mentioned, to get rid out of that zone. And
absolutely, I can't agree more. We're living in an economy of attention. This is an attention-driven economy, and at the same time, productivity has become so important. Because things can be done with speed, we're looking at doing more and more and more. And there is very little emphasis on stillness. What happens to a collective organization when, and I did this exercise with a senior management team, the CEO and his next level people. And, you know, on this whole map, we put on the floor of highly driven people. And I said, where is most of your time and attention going? And everybody went to being action oriented, or problem solving, and few to self-sufficiency. What happened to the other side? The other side of stillness and presence? Absolutely no level of stillness or even presence. And therefore, we're trying to solve the problem with our logical brains without stopping, reflecting, analyzing, and looking at the big picture. And so we can't be strategic at a very systemic level if you're not giving space for that stillness. And stillness is not just walking in the forest. Stillness is not just like taking time to meditate. It's how are we as an organization taking time for stillness to reflect upon us? Can we do that collectively? Yeah, and that's key.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm picturing already what you are saying, and even see my previous meetings and in the past how I used to operate, you know, rushing from another to another. But I fully understand what you are saying. I would like to talk to you more and more, Deepa, but the question which I would like to ask you, where our audience can find you, you know, where is it a workshop which you are running, or is it, can you give us a little bit more guidance? Before you will do that, I'm having the last question. What will be your final message to our high performance people to get the level into the balance, not work-life balance, but the balance of the holistic view, you know, mind, stillness? What will be your final message summarizing our discussion?
Wow, I hadn't thought about that. Let me think about that. Yeah, here's a very simple message for this morning. I can hear birds singing outside. I would love for you to take a walk after you hear this and try and listen to the birds, and go for a walk alone and see what it is to be truly alive. Happiness comes in the smallest of the places. So go live your life every single day. That's my message. And it's very easy to find me. Head over to meetmypotential.com. That's meetmypotential.com, and you'll find me there. And for people who are listening here to this episode, I'm willing to offer you a free one-to-one consultation / coaching session. And if you want to know more about this methodology, just head over to meetmypotential.com /bootcamp, and you'll find all the information there.
Thank you. It was such a great pleasure to have you this morning, Deepa, and run such a powerful discussion for our high performance people. Guys, if you like such a subject, please comment on the link below so I can deliver more and more content like this and bring most inspiring people into our channel. So Deepa, thank you very much, and see you soon.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye-bye.